Hundreds of freed Palestinian prisoners and detainees have been welcomed with tears and screams of joy as they were released by Israel to be reunited with their families in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. The release involved about 250 prisoners who had been convicted of crimes including murder and deadly attacks against Israelis, and about 1,700 detainees from Gaza who had been held by Israel without charge. As prisoners exited a Red Cross bus in Ramallah, many draped in traditional keffiyeh scarves, they looked pale and gaunt, with some struggling to walk. They were freed as part of an exchange in which 20 Israeli hostages were released by Hamas, with the remains of some deceased hostages also expected to be released. "He is ready to embrace freedom," said Amro Abdallah, 24, who was waiting for his cousin Rashid Omar, 48, who was arrested in July 2005 and sentenced to life in prison by an Israeli court after being found guilty of murder and other crimes. "I want peace," Mr. Abdallah said. "I want to live a happy life, safe and peaceful, without occupation and without restrictions." It is thought about 100 prisoners were released into the West Bank, with many others set to be deported, and a small number freed into East Jerusalem. Israel made clear before the release process that it wanted to avoid the jubilant scenes that surrounded prisoners arriving in Ramallah during previous hostage deals, when large crowds waved Hamas flags. Many families were reluctant to speak to the media, saying they had been warned against doing so by the Israeli military. In Gaza, families gathered at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis in the hope of being reunited with their loved ones. A field hospital adjacent to the main hospital building was set up to receive them. "This is a very beautiful feeling, happy, a day of joy," said Mohammed Hassan Saeed Daoud, 50, who told the BBC he was there to collect his son, who he says was arrested by Israeli forces at a checkpoint. "We call it a national holiday, that our detainees are being released despite the cost of the war, the martyrs, the injured, and the destruction in Gaza." Khalil Mohammed Abdul Rahman Al-Katros, who was also there to collect his son, who he said had been detained for about 3 months, said, "There is joy and there is pain, and there is happiness and there is sorrow. We came here waiting for their release. We came here expecting them to arrive at 10 o'clock, and now it is past 12 o'clock, and we are still waiting, on edge." Ahead of the release in Ramallah, ambulances from the Palestine Red Crescent Society set up in preparation to treat any injured prisoners. "The crying and the silence, this shows you how the families are feeling," said Ibrahim Aflani, 23, a volunteer nurse for the organization. "For all the people in Palestine, it's a deep, deep emotion," he said. Multiple medics and family members said the prisoners who were released in Ramallah had faced beatings in recent days prior to their release. The BBC cannot verify claims of mistreatment in Israeli prisons, but Israel's top court said last month that Palestinian prisoners were not being given adequate food. The BBC has also previously reported on Palestinians being tortured in Israeli detention. "Their rights were violated in the most serious ways," said Aya Shreta, 26, from the Palestinian Prisoners Club. She told the BBC most of the prisoners in the past year were subjected to deliberate starvation and exposure to illness. Their bodies are frail from starvation, and they've suffered from beatings. But today gives us hope that there will always be an inevitable freedom, no matter the circumstances. The hostage and prisoner exchange formed part of Phase 1 of Donald Trump's peace plan aimed at ending the war in Gaza, which was triggered by the Hamas-led attacks on southern Israel on September 7, 2023. In which about 1,200 people were killed and 251 taken hostage. Israel launched a retaliatory military offensive, which saw more than 67,682 Palestinians killed, according to the territory's Hamas-run health ministry. A ceasefire took hold on Friday, and negotiations are now expected to follow over the latter phases of Trump's peace plan.